Christmas Day, and worshippers at the Cathedral Church of the Advent Anglican Communion are in a joyous mood. They sang and danced.
Luke chapter 2.
In his message, the primate of the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion, Most Reverend Henry Ndukuba, urges worshippers to show love to one another in spite of religious or political leanings, which is the central theme for the Yuletide.
We are trusting God that though there may be a season of night and darkness, joy, gladness, and celebration shall surely carry the morning. Even in the situation in our nation, Nigeria, we are trusting God that no matter how imperfect the administration of His Excellency Tinubu may be, we want to plead with all Nigerians to join hands. Let us own this country. Let us work together. We have no other home, no other place, no other country than this country.
At Our Lady Queen of Nigeria Catholic Pro Cathedral, the worshippers sang hymns and praises to God. In his message, the Archbishop Ignatius Kaigama urged the congregation to remain steadfast despite the harsh economic realities.
The birth of Jesus is a reminder that there is still hope. There is still hope that we shouldn't give up no matter the situation of life. We shouldn't yield to frustration. We shouldn't yield to desperation. We shouldn't yield to any thoughts that will appear to say there is no God.
He also weighed in on the recent stampede at the Holy Trinity Catholic Church, Maitama.
After it had happened, my priest was taken away to be interrogated. The officials of St. Vincent de Paul, who sacrificed so much, they were also taken away and detained. This is unacceptable. Rather, there should be some sympathy, some understanding that we can work together to bring succor to these hungry and needy people.
He urged the congregation to remain steadfast despite the harsh economic realities.
Well, that was Christmas in Abuja and Lagos yesterday. But joining us to talk about, I think some of the things that the Archbishop Ignatius Kaigama just mentioned about that and more, we have with us Pastor Dr. Olubayode Awosika.
Thank you.
Founder, Jesus World Changers Apostolic Mission, and you're also a medical director, Med-In Specialist Hospital.
Yes, thank you.
But you're also the pastor of Market
Impact Church.
Market Impact Church.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being with us on Sunrise Daily. Yeah. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you.
So let's talk about Market Impact Church. What is that? What does that mean? Market Impact Church.
Yeah, really. I'll tell you a little story.
Okay.
I was a pastor in the church for so many years. Regular church. Better Ministry is a big church in Lagos. I was a senior pastor of the church for about 15 years. And all along, I've always been the managing director or the medical director of my business, Med-In Specialist Hospital, and other businesses I was doing. And I did that for so many years. And sometimes in 2015, the Lord called me and said, come, listen, you have been in this regular ministry job for this number of years. And at the same time, you are also doing your business. So, which means that you know the issues in the marketplace. It's one thing for you to just be a church, a pastor, or maybe a pulpit pastor, and talk about business. It's another thing for you to be experienced, to have a lot of experience in doing business and be a pastor at the same time. And the Lord said, now it is time for you to separate yourself and go with your experience as a pastor and at the same time a businessman in the marketplace so that you can influence others. What we discover is that, there are a lot of people who live dual lives. They are great Christians in church, but you can't talk that they are great Christians in the place of assignment. And so what we have been trying to do is to marry the two. That you can be a wonderful child of God in church and still do your business without compromising. And you can make so much money, like we said, you can make so much money and still make heaven. So that's basically what the Market Impact Church is all about. We've had 2 conferences, which we call Kingdom Lifestyle Conference, and sincerely, I want to thank channels for their role, because the Kingdom Life Conference or the Market Impact Conference, Channel had played a major role. The last one was just October this year, 30th. It was beautiful. So that is what the Market Impact Church, the whole thing is there. Come, you can be a good Christian in your place of assignment and also in church. So that's what we're trying to do.
That's a very slippery.
It is.
How do you? Well, we'll get to that in a bit, because I want to understand how that would work. Because we've seen a lot of people use church is not, for many people, it's not where they go to actually worship God or actually receive God, whereas where they try to go for networking and asking for one miracle or the other, which has led to a lot of the criticism that we see of the church. But I want to be able to talk about something that the Archbishop mentioned. He was talking about that stampede that happened at the Holy Trinity Church here in Maitama. And it was a priest, and then there's a group called St. Vincent de Paul. They're the ones that take care of the poor and the needy in society, and they were arrested. And the priest was arrested, and the Archbishop said that was unacceptable. But if we juxtapose that with what happened in Ibadan, and saw that and Okija, and saw that Princess Naomi was also arrested, and a lot of the people, the organizers as well, arrested. Do you think it's unacceptable? Because those were his words.
Four I comment on what the Archbishop said, I want to say that I have a foundation, a Christian foundation. And we have been doing the same thing for the past 24 years. Now, what do? Every year, we celebrate Christmas with the underprivileged children. And we have an average of at least 3,000 children. When you add their mothers, it's about 4,500. The last one we did is just on the 20th of this month, that's last Friday. We had 3,500 children. And with their mothers, about 1,500, that's about 5,000 people. But the difference is that, we have an instruction, because like almsgiving, we don't advertise it. For 24 years, we have never appeared on television. Nobody knows what we do. Because you say, when you're giving alms, you say what your right hand is giving, your left hand should know it. So it's not an advert. We don't give publicity to it. We just try to make sure that God provides the money. And what we do, we feed the children, we give them all this plaything, they jump on the train and all that. And every child from 0 to 12, we give new clothes for Christmas.
Where'd you get them from? You don't advertise it. Is it just members of your church? Or do you put the word out in communities? Or how do you get people to know that they can come to your church and get these arms?
No, what we do is that we say anytime we just put banners outside.
Okay, you put banner outside the church.
Banners outside, outside the area where the church is, where my business is. I have a hospital.
Yes.
And all that. So, we've been doing it yearly, so children are looking forward to it. And you see, we try as much as possible. Like this one, the last one we did, 5,000 children. They were all seated, well seated, and we've always been choosing where we do it. There was a time we did in a particular place. It got to a point I felt the place, it was getting a bit risky. Why? Because mothers, this is years ago, not even now, when things are a bit harder. Mothers, when the gates were closed, mothers were trying to push their children, babies, behind the gate so that they can't come in. And we saw the danger signal, and we moved it away from there. So what we normally do, we do it in an open school, an open field, large space, and we don't allow anybody that does not fall into that category of age to be there. No youth, no any other person except the mother that will accompany the children. You know, so we do it every year. The last one we did, like I said, on the 20th, there was no scratch. Every child did.
The IG of police, you know, these arrests,
yes.
really, I want to get your thoughts
yes.
on the arrests of the organizers.
Yes.
Are these arrests justified in your view? And this instruction from the Inspector General of Police, whenever you're trying to do this, get the police involved. Let us be able to get, the country's a little different. Let us be able to help you organize it better, you know, and ensure that we do not have stampedes and casualties. Where do you stand on the statement from the IG? And are these arrests of the organizers justified?
We have always gotten security. Like whether you use civil defense, this last one we did, we use civil defense. Mm-hmm. If we don't use civil defense, we use the police. We always get security involved. But you see, I don't think sincerely it's justified. Because these people just want to help. You know, like I said, because I'm looking at myself. If it had happened, I know the pain we go through making this arrangement. It's not as if the money is there. We sacrifice to get these things fixed for these children. You know, yeah, some mistakes were made, obviously, because I'm sure those that created the people, the problem were not the expected crowd. You know, so, but to just get them arrested and lock them up, I don't think, whether it's justified, I won't say justified, I don't think it's fair. I won't use the word justified because with whatever that meant, I don't think it's fair. I just felt that because what they were trying to do is just to put a smile on the face of people. And that is what Christmas is all about. Christmas is about love and giving. That is what Christmas is about.
If you were law enforcement, what would you do in this situation? In
a situation like this, obviously, you know, I will probably, yes, get them, not lock them up. Invite them. Let's know what went wrong. And then we sit down, because obviously we cannot do it alone. We sit down, government will sit down with them and say, okay, fine. Maybe next time when this is going to happen, it has never happened before. Next time when this is going to happen, let us come together, let us know about it, and then we can help you. But you see, to just to arrest them and go and lock them in a correctional center, you know, I think what is going to happen is that if we are not careful, people are going to run away from doing things like this. Because obviously, you do good, you know, and then you end up in trouble. You know, so I think I think it's just not fair. I believe that the government could have, the best it could have been just to call them, and yeah, something went wrong. We shouldn't allow this to happen anymore. And then, because this is the only way we can learn from our mistakes. We learn from the mistake by reviewing what has gone wrong and make sure it doesn't repeat itself.
Let's go back to the market church.
Yes.
So it's a very interesting dynamic, like I said earlier,
Yes.
you know, getting people to replicate what it is that they hear in God's house and the way they conduct themselves in God's house, to be able to replicate that in their lives. Because that's one of the criticisms of religious institutions, and it's not just Christianity, even Islam, Buddhism, whatever religion that you are. For many people, they've decided to jettison religion altogether. Because in many ways, you see people who are proponents of these religions living the opposite of those lives. So you're wondering, what's happening? What's the point? Why should I? So that impact of God's word on a person, such that the person replicates that in his life, compounding that with our economic situation, because the truth is, you know, it's even in the scripture, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many will wax cold. So many people have become cold in their personal lives, but they still go to church, you know, or go to the mosque or whatever religion. How do you want to be able to replicate the examples of the scriptures in the lives of people when they are not inside the church?
You say what we are trying to do is this. We understand the situation. I must say that probably there had been a bit of issue with what church is all about. The purpose of church is to prepare us for life outside church. And life outside church is about your place of assignment, your home, your community, how you behave. That is the purpose of church. Church is not a social gathering. It's not a place of networking. It's not. The whole idea, the teaching of Christ is for us, is to prepare us. Yeah, the ultimate is to make heaven. Yeah. But nobody goes to church and become born again and say, tomorrow I want to go to heaven. You still have to be here to do what you need to do. So, you see, that is why, as much as possible, we recognize that. And we look at the business aspect. And we believe that, what are we doing as Christians? What are we doing as leaders in churches? Are we doing enough to help these people in the marketplace? Let's say your place of assignment. Do we understand the problem, the issues they go through in the place of assignment? What can we do? We can do them. We can teach. We can even pray about it. Because that's what church is all about. If you're having difficulties with your business and all that, you get into church. We can pray about it and all that. So there's so much the church. That is why I use my own experience. I said, listen, I have been in church. I've been a pastor. I've been a pastor in a regular church for 25 years. And God called me during 2015 and said, come, I'm going to be 76 now. And says, now, leave that regular church. What have you learned by being in the church, on the pulpit, and still do your business? If you have learned anything at all, can you impart it on others? And that is why then we started the church. It's not a big church. We started a church, and what we have been trying to do is teaching the principle of prosperity. It's only God that can make you to prosper. If you do anything outside the tenets of God, then that is not, you see, there is a good success. The Bible said if there's a good success, it means there will be a bad success. So we emphasize all of that. Why should we have children? Why should we have children in church who comes to church regularly and their business is going to do Yahoo? Then what are we doing? What are we teaching? Why should somebody, a young man that I know yesterday, suddenly bring some funny amount of money to church and I just accept it without asking questions? What do you do? What has changed in your life? So you see, as much as possible, we try to discourage. You see, listen, one of my young sons in the church came, oh, Daddy, I suddenly saw that his lifestyle had changed. And I was curious. And he came, I don't accept things like this all the time. And he says, Daddy, I just brought a dress for you. I say, oh, thank God, God be praised. Even many I've not worn them. But anyway, I'm grateful. So, and I called the resident pastor. I said, please ask the young man to come and see me in my office. And I sat him down. Son, what are you doing? What type of business? I know you. We sent you to school, to the university, to go this part-time university, University of Lagos. And then suddenly you become big, you ride in different cars. What are you doing? Oh, he said he does cryptocurrency. I don't need it. Sincerely, I don't know anything about cryptocurrency. And I said, okay, fine, but I hope you don't do anything outside that. Because if you do anything outside that, and you still come to this church, because you see, God cannot be mocked. That's the thing. So it's on whatever you give will not be acceptable to God. I was happy, thank you, Daddy, and all that, he left. But he stopped being a regular member of the church.
After that conversation?
He stopped being a regular member. I've been praying for him, I keep asking for him. But see, these are the little things we need to be doing, in churches. Because obviously, these young ones, they are under a lot of pressure. And anything that can bring money, they will want to do it. I've been a medical doctor for 47 years. I don't have all the money in this world. I'm just comfortable. But, okay, I'm good with what I'm doing. So, you see, you need to be able to have your example. People need to be able to look at you and say, come, this is a good example. So you see, if there's a sudden change in my lifestyle, or there's a windfall somewhere, if it could be a miracle, but I will let my church know that this is what God had done for me. You know, because you see, when your source of income is questionable, and you cannot really address it, you can't talk much about it. I tell my children, I say, the way you come and give testimony. Don't tell me one testimony. I went to Abuja, I came back from Abuja. No, I'm not interested in that. What have you gone to do in Abuja? What is the business? What brought this money? Churches need money. But we cannot continue to take any money that comes in and just use it. And listen, if we as leaders of churches, if our lifestyle become extremely extravagant, then why would these children want to? They just want to come. They say, oh, one young pastor. Yesterday was nothing. He was riding a bicycle and suddenly gathered some two people together. And then the next thing, the first thing is to go and get a Mercedes.
I mean, and that's a very interesting, it's puzzling in many ways.
Yeah, it is.
And the reason why it's puzzling is because you have to juxtapose God's, because we do believe in miracles.
Yes.
So the blessings of God make you rich, right? But they add no sorrow to it. But we can't tell when the sorrow is happening. Yes. But you know, God's blessings make you rich. It's there in the scripture. Yes. So when a man of God looks rich, owns a private jet, is living, there's the school of thought, and I think I heard that with the pastor that we had on the morning brief earlier. God can bless somebody.
That's it.
You have a thriving medical business.
Yes, I do.
You own that hospital. So wouldn't it be wrong for someone to look at you if you've worked all of your life, saved up money, you live well, you like to live well, and you have all of that wealth, and then someone else is looking at you as a man of God and thinking, okay, there's a particular, there's something called piety. You're supposed to show not poverty. Many people mistake piety for poverty. So you're supposed to have the look of piety and be demure in the way you live and you know, pious in the way that you conduct yourself. So that line between extravagance and piousness, if there's such a word, is one that many men of God have not really been able to navigate. And of course, in the midst of that, Pastor, we still have charlatans who have decided to use the church as business. So how do we, as we're trying to change our country, and the role of religious leaders in changing the mindset of the Nigerian, how do you navigate that with this dynamic at the top?
No, really, listen, there's nothing basically wrong with a servant of God owning jets, private jets, if they can afford it. There are quite a number of them that have big ministries that have done quite a lot. Just writing books and getting royalties on books, you can imagine millions of money people make from there. And a lot of these servants of God have done quite a lot of that. You know, and again, they also have children that have been blessed and they become a blessing to them. So basically, there's nothing basically wrong with that. Let me tell you a story. My late Geo, Apostle Udayemi, was the first person that brought a private jet into ministry. When he brought a private jet, head let loose in Nigeria, what is he going to get a private? What does he want to use it for? Where is he going? It's a show. I was very close to him, extremely close to him. I knew this man never used this private jet for any social thing throughout his lifetime. He died a few years ago. It's either it's on crusade, and he was doing quite a lot of crusade at that time in Kenya. And if you have traveled out of Nigeria, you'll find that getting flight to those of these places is not funny. You know, some of these places you go, is flight once in a week. So he goes for this crusade, he's going to South Africa, he's going to Kenya, he's going to Cameroon. That was what he used it for. He never used it, that I can say it in his lifetime, he never used it for any social gathering. And I know that quite a number of these servants of God that have this use it for the same. You know, so there's nothing basically wrong with that. If God had blessed them, they can't do it. They use it to his glory, and they use it for his work. And that is exactly what the servants of God are using. So anyone that condemns them doesn't know what they are doing. But what you're saying is that there are quite a lot of people the charlatans that you call them, who just came to ministry, who don't even know what ministry is all about. And you see them on this Facebook and all sorts of things. They have also spurious miracles, senseless miracles, and people are trooping in there, you know, and they make money from it. And obviously, because you see, many are called, but few are chosen. You know, again, are they really called? Did they call themselves? Who has chosen them? You know, so those are the charlatans. Again, this is what we, maybe the leaders in the ministry, need to do a bit more. But see, me, I believe charity begins at home. Whatever, before you start talking about the charlatans, what are we doing? The little I'm doing in my own little small place is what I'm trying to discuss with you. Every Sunday, there's a Sunday we have dedicated, we call it Marketing Part Sunday. And the essence of that Marketing Part Sunday is simple. We bring people, we bring genuine Christian men and women outside there to come to church and tell us about their experience.
Well, we'll continue with that in a bit, but I want to throw this to Ayo. Ayo has a few questions for you.
Well, thank you, Kayla. You know, I was actually enjoying the conversation you are having with the Minister of God with you there, Pastor Awosika. You know, because at the end of the day, and I like the perspective you are taking, Pastor Awosika, you're talking more about lifestyle, aligning lifestyle with expectations of society. Now, today is Boxing Day, or as I told Kayla earlier, Unboxing Day. We should be unboxing today, so why we are boxing, I still don't understand well. Maybe that's a conversation for another time. You know, but in terms of, you know, aligning lifestyle with faith, help us find a balance. Help us put it in proper perspective. We have Christians in every sphere of life. We have faithfuls in every sphere of life, in the government, at the federal level, at the state level, at the private sector level. We have them high up there and mighty. We have them meek and lowly. But it's the balance of faith and lifestyle. I think it's somewhere in the Holy Writ where it says that your light should shine in a way that other people will see it and glorify God. And then I think there's another one that says that when people see it, they want to be like you. So it's that balance of faith and lifestyle that makes the difference. How do you see, how challenging do you see it? I'm glad that you're talking about the marketplace, because that's where the rubber meets the road. You take the faith to the marketplace and the difference is going to be. So help us understand that balance, the challenges of that delicate balance and sustaining it.
Thank you. You know, let me just illustrate this. You know, you find that our example in Christianity is Christ himself. You look at Christ, and he had 12 disciples. It is almost impossible to distinguish him from the other disciples, and I think that is one of them had to be bribed to betray him. Why? Because there was nothing extravagant about his lifestyle. You know, lifestyle is not in your. You see, people have gone overboard. Sincerely, I love people dressing well. I love people looking well. I love people doing everything well. But you see, the Bible also says we do things in moderation. You know, as servants of God, how are we doing things in moderation? As children of God outside there, how are we doing things in moderation? You know, what has actually happened? We have allowed the society, instead of us changing the society has actually changed us. You know, it's like we are competing with the society now. That's the way it looks like. That's the way I say it. Listen, I am one person that I love good cars. I love good cars, and I have one or two of them. You know, why should a servant of God or a servant or a child of God, you are traveling, you want to travel chains of vehicles? You know, I can go on and on and on and on. You know, you wear some chains, or you wear some things on your neck. You wear some diamonds that people look at and wonder, and they keep costing what you are wearing.
Pastor Awosika, you are lamenting the way I'm lamenting, and I'd like you to help us find balance. The reason I'm asking that question is because there are a number of people who are wondering, how can I really find that balance and be meaningful in life? They want their light to shine. They want their faith to be demonstrated, but they are also afraid of being castigated by society because of their faith.
You know, I think what we need to do is this, and that's, they say whatever you do, people will talk about it. People will talk about it. One, you know the God that you serve. You are comfortable with the fact that you are a genuine child of God. You are comfortable with the fact that every dime you have made, you can account for them. There's nothing frivolous there's nothing illegal about your earning. You know, and then, you see, and Christ said it. You see, if your hand is going to make you sin, they said, cut it off. So there are certain things, even in your course of your lifestyle, if you find that people are becoming a bit uncomfortable with, that will not take you quite, why don't you stop it? You know, if for example you have some certain cars and people keep complaining about it, I'm not saying don't drive your car. Why must you always drive it? No, there are certain things you need to do. Yes, our light must shine. We are the light of the world. That's what the Bible calls us. We are the salt. Our light must shine, and we will continue to shine. But there are certain things that we do. Is the exaggeration that is the problem. Is the way we do things. I think we become a bit excessive in some of the things we do. Okay. You know, so we all look at ourselves. This is pure personal now. You look at your life and say, come, what exactly am I doing that I think is excessive? What am I wearing that I think can be a problem, like be an issue to people? If I'm wearing a wristwatch and people see me, all they see is my wristwatch, and they are trying to cost it. Oh, that wristwatch is about $150,000. Wristwatch is for timing. If it gets to that, and people want to go to hell simply because they see me wearing such a wristwatch, can't I give it away or just do something with it and be a blessing to sell it and be a blessing to the poor? There are so many poor in our society that need help. You know, and again, you see, so we cannot, our lifestyle, we need to moderate it. There are a lot of things we need to do because we cannot allow the society to continue to influence us. We are supposed to influence the society.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the clergy have also, as you said, and I think Kayla also referenced earlier in an earlier conversation, have, you know, almost always from time to time, people are interested in how things go. You cited Jesus Christ the other time. You also cited the apostles. And there are those who would point to you the fact that in his day, we had the clergy. In the days of Jesus Christ, we had the clergy who did not really welcome Jesus, who were not willing to change the status quo. They just wanted the status quo to remain. And for as long as they had the status quo, they were relevant. Now, there are those who would point you to the fact that it's about the same thing these days. People don't want things to change. They just want things to remain the same. Jesus did a lot more of his ministry outside of the church, as it were, as opposed to inside of it. So it gives validity to your own market ministry. So help people understand what the place of the clergy today, as opposed to the demonstration of influencing people in the church to take it out there to the marketplace.
Thank you very much. I think, again, even apart from Christ himself, one of the greatest apostles, Apostle Paul, you know, his own ministry also expanded when he moved out of being on the pulpit. You know, I would not say in the time of Christ, I don't think we have the Sadducees and the Pharisees. I won't call them clergy as of today, sincerely, because every servant of God on the pulpit today are believers in what Christ came to preach. So they are basically different from what we had in the time of Christ, the Pharisees and the Sadducees and all those ones that said that. So they are totally different. But today, all we are trying to do, even those supposed clergymen, as we call them, those are the pulpit pastors, they still have a lot of role to play. You know, it's a matter of a synergy. It's a matter of us working together. It's a matter of recognizing the fact that, like I said some times ago, there are many more people outside church than inside church. There are many more. There are many more people in the marketplace, in the various places of assignment. And it doesn't have to be in the bank. It doesn't have to be in big churches. There are many more who are walking on the street, selling things on the street. They are also marketplace people. They have their own assignment outside there. So we all need to recognize that fact. You know, we thank God for the great churches that we are building. We thank God for that. But it does not matter if you even have a church that has a capacity for 1 million people at a time. Outside that 1 million, I can tell you there are either 70 or 20 million people outside there. What I'm trying to say is that we should try to see how much we can do to influence those people outside there, because that is where the issues are. The children that are on drugs are the ones that will not come to church. Recently, there are about 730-something people that were arrested, Nigerians, doing cryptocurrency, doing something they call romance fraud or whatever, in Lagos. Many of them are our children. They are there. They know better. That is the role of the church. We need to, with the church now, we need to condemn some of these things on the pulpit. Not all of us will understand that I'm different in the sense that I've always been a pulpit pastor and also a market pastor. There was no time I left my business because I was a pastor. So I know what it means to be in the marketplace, to be asked to pay a bribe, to be asked to do, I won't give you this except you do this, to be asked to do deals. I know what it means. And these are things I have gone through over the years. What has just helped me is just because, yes, I'm in the church, I know what the Word of God says. It is the Bible condemned giving and accepting bribe. It's in the Bible. The Bible condemned it. How many times do we say it? Do we say some of these things to these people? No, so those are some of the things that even our pulpit pastors and leaders and the clergymen we need to come out boldly and condemn some of these actions that we know it is not right.
I mean, I just got a message from a pastor that said, Kayla, the only thing we can do is preach God's word and hope that it works. And I was thinking, is that the only way? Is that all we can do? Because when you look at these, like when I saw those young people from there, and the plethora of disappointing stories that we have in this country, and many of them are Christian.
Yeah.
In fact, everyone is religious.
Yeah.
We have
one religion or the other.
Yeah, we have very few atheists in this country. But is that all that can be done, at least from a Christian perspective? Is that all that can be done? Preach God's word and hope that people receive it? Hope that its miraculous power can change people's lives? Or is there more that religious leaders like yourself can do to change people's attitudes as we navigate 2025?
The more we can do is that say we need to follow up these children. We also need to see how we can get them alternatives. Listen, we have smart children. Nigerians are smart. Our children are smart. All they needed to do is to just reorientate them to take their smartness in a positive way. And as a church, I'm hard on the youth in the church. I am hard on them.
Well, their example is the elders that are their example. We look at our older ones and we see them do all sorts of criminal things and enrich themselves, and then they are able to send their children abroad and then able to live lavish lives. Why would a young person listen to you when you're telling me?
No, that's what I'm saying, because they look at our lives. They look at our lives. They look at the life of the leaders. Then it has to go down, right? I cannot have a known 419 as a leader in the ministry sitting in front and be given every recognition. And I want to have a voice to condemn what the young ones are doing. You see, these are some of the things that it is tough. The message here is that we need to open up. We need to be real to ourselves. You know, I remember when, with the last conference we had, the vice president gave a word, and the vice president said, when people, how many times do we condemn from the pulpit some of the monies that have come to our purse? How many times? We take it, we used to build the mansions. Do we condemn it? Do we even ask the source of the money? You know, so it's everywhere. It's not, I'm just talking about the youth, actually. But you see, it's everywhere, from, like you said, from the very senior, from the elderly, and to the young ones. It's a tough job. It's a very, very tough job. It's not, and it's not, you see, my message is not a popular one. It's not popular because, obviously, these days people are looking for prophets. We say, oh, tomorrow you will be this. We all hear from God. I may not call myself a prophet. I believe in miracles. I'm a medical doctor for 47 years. And when I have very bad case and it has become hopeless, I turn to Christ. There had been a situation when a man was almost giving up. And my other doctors were working on the patient. And all I heard, hold the leg and pray. And I heard the leg of that person, and my doctors were looking at me and what's your God doing here now? And I did what I needed to do, and I walked back to my office. And there was a turnaround. And one of the doctors were bold enough to come and say, sir, what do you do? I think you need to do more of this. You know, so you see, we need to do all of that. But the fact of the matter is that these days, there are too many wrong things. I wonder if the number of churches we have in Nigeria, if we don't have it, then what could have been what could have Nigeria turned to?
I mean, that is a conversation that we will be having another time. But our time is already up. Thank you so much, Pastor Olubayode Awosika, for being with us on the program. And Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you too. Thank you very much.
Business Morning is up next on Sunrise Daily. We'll be back with more conversation 30 minutes after, so please stay with us.
Well, hello and welcome to Business Morning. Compliments of a season. Hope Santa, bless your portfolio with some incredible profit this season. But if you didn't get that, you have a chance tomorrow. Markets are reopen. But let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now. We see in the telecom industry, MTN Nigeria extended its partnership with Entel by renewing their spectrum lease agreement. This move approved by the Nigerian Communications Commission. That's the NCC, will significantly enhance network coverage and service quality for customers across the country. Under the renewed agreement, MTN will continue leasing crucial spectrum bands from Entel in 19 states. The lease for 5 megahertz in the 900 megahertz band and 10 megahertz in the 1,800 megahertz band has been extended for 2 years, effective May 1st, 2025. For the remaining 17 states and the Federal Capital Territory, the lease extension is for 1 year, effective January 1st, 2025. This renewed access to spectrum will allow MTN to further improve 3G and 4G services, providing a better user experience for its customers. And the Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association, NECAS, urged the Lagos State Water Regulatory Commission to stop disrupting businesses after sealing the factories of Coca-Cola, Hellenic, Friesland Campina, Wamco, and Guinness Nigeria for extracting groundwater without proper authorization. NECA warns that the closure will scare off investors and increase job insecurity in Lagos. NECA's Director General, Mr. Wale Smart, Oyerinde, stresses that businesses are already burdened by tough economic conditions and high taxes. He argues that the government should provide water, and it's unfair to levy businesses forced to supply their own water. So Oyerinde also mentioned ongoing talks with private sector to resolve the issue. He calls on the Lagos State government to intervene and urge LASWACO to adopt a more constructive, business-friendly approach to regulation. The National Bureau of Statistics has earmarked 35 million naira in its 2025 budget proposal for capacity building on cybersecurity and data center management, following a cyber attack that compromised its website on December 18th, 2024. In addition to cybersecurity, MBS has outlined several initiatives in its 9.85 billion naira budget aimed at modernizing operations and improving service delivery. Among these are 500 million naira for the labor force survey, 80 million naira for the consumer price index production, and 60 million naira for the quarterly GDP compilations. The breach, disclosed via the Bureau's official X account, led to warnings for the public to disregard information on the platform, raising concerns about the agency's digital infrastructure. As the country's primary source of statistical data, the NBS vulnerability underscores the critical need for cybersecurity enhancements. And thousands of people have been flocking to Echo Hotel and Suites Tropical Christmas Wonderland in the holiday season to enjoy the theme parks and carnivals and all the amusements and fun for all ages. The Director of Sales and Marketing, Echo Hotel and Suites, Dr. Laolu Gbadebo, explains why the festivities, which runs till January 2nd, is a hospitality, travel and leisure destination for the whole family and tourists alike. Our correspondent, Olumide Macaulay, reports.
As the flags attest, the Echo Hotel and Suites Tropical Christmas Wonderland is international in scope and African by design. Creativity and innovation at its finest as costume processions of a carnival gets underway with enough razzmatazz to give Rio de Janeiro a run for her money. But this is Lagos, and these beauties in red, white, and orange lead a carnival of floats. There's a little bit of everything: African rhinos, stilt workers, fire eaters, unicyclists of a Pride Land circus, a Chinese dragon, the Bulandians, that is, future Africans, and DJs on the ones and twos. Plus, why go to the North Pole to see Santa Claus when he's here with you? The First Lady, Mrs. Claus, who waves with her little Santa elves. In their vehicles, instead of complaining about the traffic, people take pictures. At the Hakuna Matata theme park, Echo Atlantic City, a stone's throw from Echo Hotel, it's a children and families paradise, plus tourists. The Director of Sales and Marketing, Dr. Laolu Gbadebo, describes it in a nutshell.
Tropical Christmas Wonderland is the foremost family holiday destination in all of Africa. There is nothing compared. 5 days, 7 days, 11 days, 13-day package where you get breakfast, lunch, dinner, access to this beautiful theme park called Hakuna Matata theme park all day long from 10 o'clock to 9 p.m. at night. We're not interested in going anywhere else. We're keeping our money local in Nigeria, and we're making things happen here.
For the assistant brand manager, it's a major win.
And when we started, it started very small. But now it is a household name in Nigeria. Mind you, we have guests coming from Europe, from America, to come and witness Tropical Christmas Wonderland.
From as far afield as Denmark, they come.
My name is Søren, and I'm from Denmark. This is our Christmas Eve. So if I was ever to not be home for Christmas, this would be the perfect thing to do. So, and I'm very happy I did it. And I can actually live without home when I try this. I've just had some of the what's called soya or something like that. Never tried it before.
Suya.
Yeah, suya. Very spicy, but I liked it. I really liked it.
Everybody just loves Hakuna Matata because why not? So I've come here like a bunch of different times because it's that fun.
The festivities started from December the 20th and runs through till January the 2nd, 2025.
And the Petroleum Company Limited is taking a significant step towards boosting hydrocarbon production. And that's with the launch of its new production monitoring. That's for production monitoring command center. This initiative, spearheaded by NNPC Upstream Investment Management Services, aims to enhance operational efficiency and maximize production output. Well, let's get a sense of what to expect now. Joining us is Mr. Jide Pratt. He's the Chief Operating Officer, Iona, and the Country Manager at Trade Grid. Compliments of the season. Great to have you. Yeah, I think you might have to. Fantastic. I hear you now. Great to have you, JP. So, yeah, so it's another move now we're seeing from the NNPC Limited. But, you know, talk to me about what specific technologies and systems are being utilized in this production monitoring command center. That's the PMCC.
So, thanks again, Laddie. Well, one of the things that we try to do in oil and gas is what you call custody transfer. So what that means is that you could move cargo, be crude oil, and in this case, we're talking specifically crude oil. So what that means is that you're trying to move the product from one location to another location. In doing this, what the NNPC has done is that at the NNP, can you hear me?
Okay, I guess the internet connection there is getting a little draggy. I know there's a lot of volume usage there, but Jide, I'll try to get you back on, but you were frozen for a moment there. But, you know, definitely we've been talking about boosting oil production in Nigeria, trying to meet, you know, targets at this point to see how the government can actually get more revenue. And now we're seeing the NNPCL now launching this production monitoring command center. And it is hoped that with this platform, we can get more production, you know, out of the ground. That's talking about oil, and so we can get more foreign exchange, and definitely meeting targets. We see the budget for 2025, there is a production target there, and meeting that target will be a game changer for revenue. That's in 2025 for the government, because the expenditure is a lot. We'll still try and get Jide Pratt. I don't know if we have Jide now. Jide, you were frozen for a moment there. Okay, we'll still try and get Jide. The conversation definitely still has to be had there on this production monitoring center, what to expect from it, how this would help Nigeria's oil and gas industry come 2025. And we need all of that revenue coming on. And also, there's a lot of conversations about pricing now when it comes to the product itself. We've seen the NNPCL, we've seen Dangote Refinery, you know, giving gifts at this time to Nigerians, slashing the price of PMS per liter to sub 1,000. Maybe at some point, hopefully, we get sub 900 and lower, you know, if possible. And that gifting, I hope it continues into 2025. All right, we'll get back to the conversation, but all right, I think we have JP back now. JP, are you back?
I'm so sorry. This is what I get to face when we say our internet is not stable. I really apologize.
No, it's fine. It's fine. But you can continue with your thought.
Okay. So what I was talking about was custody transfer. So in oil and gas, what is that? It's basically trying to say that if I move 10 liters of A from point A, I need to be sure I have 10 liters of what you call A in point B. What the NNPC is trying to do now, which I believe they should have done a while back, is that using technology, so you have things like ATGs, automatic tank gauges. you have sensors, you have flow meters. However, what they have done is that we have gone on the back of what you call Internet of Things, basically. And you're able to, at a click of a button, see what moves from, be it shallow waters, be it onshore, be it wherever it is where the crude oil comes from. It's going to come from that location and it's going to go to a terminal. Now, from the terminal, obviously, it could either go to exports or go into refineries. But bottom line, what they're trying to do is that the custody or the quantity that moves from point A to point B is now seen on what you call a monitoring dashboard, which is the PMCC they have just launched. I don't know if they had one before or have upgraded it. But that way, it's very, very simple, Laddie. As things flow,
Damn, I guess it happened again. The internet, again, holding us back from this conversation. But definitely we see Jide making a point of how, every platform, should have this production. That's oil and gas platform should have this oil and gas monitoring. All right, JP, yeah, so definitely I understood, what you said previously, but now, we've been struggling with, getting production, up in Nigeria, and I'm guessing what people want to know, in the President Bola Tinubu's media chat earlier, he did say that they've not received anything from the NNPC so far. Is this the game changer? Will this make NNPCL be able to remit money now to the government?
So it's two things, Laddie. What the president said, in my opinion, I think we should ideally be asking the NNPC why. If they're not doing that, it's because crude oil is missing and we can't put a finger on where it's going to. It's also because of the fact that they lack corporate governance, in my opinion. Now, two things. What does this do? This puts accountability on the table. What it does mean is that you can actually trigger, and someone monitoring a screen can see if there's a break in a pipeline, if there's a break in product moving from one terminal to another. Technically, you can see where there are losses, and that's the aim of monitoring. Once you can see where there are losses, it's easier to be able to say this is where what has gone to, and this is why it's gone to where it's gone to. So this is a step in the right direction, but it's not the silver bullet to clean everything up. I do think that one thing that still needs to happen is a proper management team in terms of corporate governance. But this will obviously give accountability in terms of where products is coming from in terms of crude and where it's going to.
All right, so looking at the product pricing so far, we've seen the NNPCL, the Dangote refinery, giving gifts at this time. We've seen PMS at sub 1,000 naira. So going forward, are you seeing sub 900 in 2025?
In my opinion, no. And why do I say no? Not to be a bringer of bad news. But the crude oil pricing is one thing. The exchange rate in terms of where we are is another thing. If those fiscal and monetary policies work well and our crude oil begins to, let me say crude oil is stable going into 2025. If that happens and FX is also stable going into 2025 and we have sub 1,700, then yes, crude oil prices are likely to go down. But like if we don't have exchange rates going lower than 1.7, if you notice when the Dangote refinery went ahead with a price reduction, they seem to have cut their price beyond production price. And they said they were doing this in the interest of the nation. So what that means is that if the crude oil parameters do not stay stable, exchange rate does not stay stable, and they go up, then what would happen is that those prices will go beyond 1,000 again. But it's very, very simple. On the other hand, if we're able to rein in crude oil prices, and let's assume they stay at $75 a barrel, the direct effect of that is that when it comes to distillates, the gasoline index templates, you'll find out that it probably will stay around the next 670s, 680s. If the crude exchange rate at this point now is sub 1.5, then laddie, yes, prices will continue to go down. But like I said, it's a double-edged sword. If it goes in the opposite direction, then prices will go back up.
So I guess strengthen the Naira and we'll see the impact on PMS prices going lower. Right, JP? Frozen again. All right, JP, thank you so much for coming on. That was Jide Pratt. He's the Chief Operating Officer, Iona, and a country manager at TradeGrid. We're definitely hoping for lower prices going into 2025. But we'll take a break now. When we come back, I'll be looking at the banking industry, how the bank raises going. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. Alrighty now, so we see Tier 1 Bank, Access Holdings, completed its recapitalization exercise, becoming the first bank to meet the Central Bank of Nigeria's new 500 billion naira recapitalization requirement. The bank raised 351 billion naira through a rights issue oversubscribed by 105.76%, securing regulatory approvals from the CBN and the Securities and Exchange Commission. The funds will boost Access Holdings' share capital to 602.8 billion naira and expand its issued shares to 53.318 billion, with a market capitalization of about 1.32 trillion naira. All right, let's get an outlook now for the bank recapitalization exercise in 2025. Joining us is Damilare Shimi, who's a macro strategist at AfriInvest. Yeah, great to have you. Compliments of the season.
Good morning, Ladi. Glad to be here this morning.
Fantastic.
Compliment of the season to all our viewers across the world.
Thank you so much. So we're seeing, Access Bank now, the first to hit this target. What would you say were the key factors, that contributed to the success of this rights issue? And I'm guessing you might be expecting more, of these targets being hit by most of these banks.
Yeah, thank you once again, Ladi. Let me start by saying that I'm not surprised by this development. The reason is because the Nigerian banking industry have been resilient over the years. This is not the first time the industry will be going through a recapitalization phase. And based on outcome of the previous one, especially the one that took place in 2025, where we had the industry being consolidated from over 89 banks to just about 25, what happened then is largely what is also playing out here, where the industry leaders, the major banks, came off the exercise much stronger. And AfriInvest, being the pioneer of banking industry in Nigeria, have always been tracking that. So this year, when the CBN announced the recapitalization exercise early in March, we have put out a lot of publications to sort of instill confidence in Nigerians that most of the banks will come out very strong from this exercise, notably the players in the Tier 1 categories. And Access Bank have just announced that he has successfully raised about 351 billion, which is slightly above even the minimum baseline it needed to maintain its license authorization. You recall that in March, when the CBN redefined the minimum capital base for banks and non-banks, for the commercial bank, the capital base requirement for them was raised from about 50 billion to 500 billion, just to accommodate or to check the effect of capital erosion that has taken place over the last 20 years now. When the exercise last took place, exchange rate has moved from about 189 in 2005 to about 1,600 now. Inflation in Nigeria over the last 5 years has averaged above 18%. So when you look at those effects, the real value of the capital raised then in 2005 have actually been eroded, and that is what the CBN has pushed the bank to do. So Access Bank have taken the lead, not because they are the only one that have actually successfully raised that amount. Based on our market tracking data, there are also other Tier 1 banks that have also successfully raised capital needed to meet the new requirement for their license authorization. But we think that they are yet to clear their capital raise transaction with SEC. So, but by and large, we believe that, especially from the Tier 1 banks, we believe that the capital raise exercise is just a way of also helping them to boost their capacity to propel this economy. And you recall that one of the essence of this recapitalization exercise, which the CBN put to bear, is that they want the banks to be more stronger, to be able to finance the target of a 1 trillion economy over the next 7 to 8 years. So it's a good news that Access Bank is taking the lead in terms of being the first to announce its capital raise. successful raising of the shortfall capital to meeting the new recapitalization. We look forward to hearing more in the new year as small banks also complete the exercise. And for the tier 2 banks, we are also very optimistic that a sizable number of them will also scale this exercise. And perhaps we might have a few M&A at the end of the day. But by and large, we think the banking sector will come off stronger at the end of this exercise to finance, to drive the economy, to drive sectors across the country to greater heights.
Right. We have the markets, financial markets are open tomorrow. How do you see this news now shaping investor sentiment towards the Access stock?
So interestingly, right, among the banking stocks that we tracked, Access Bank, compared to its peer, the tier 1 bank, Access Bank is the Access Bank ticker or stock has been the least performer in terms of year-to-date gain. I think the stock has only gained barely about 4%. You have the other tier 1 tickers that have gained above 30, above 40. So this sort of news should boost investor sentiment towards Access Bank. I will not be surprised to see a significant rally on the stock because it has instilled more confidence it has instilled more confidence in investor on the ability of the bank. Of course, for anyone that knows the story of Access very well, this is not the first time Access will go through a very challenging situation and come up with something great out of it. I want to talk about critical acquisitions they have done in the past, Intercontinental in 2011, the other bank they acquired in 2018 to strengthen their customer base, which is Diamond Bank. So by and large, Access Bank have a track record of coming up strong, even in challenging situations. And the challenges that the recapitalization exercise posed to all banks in 2024, because after the announcement in March, in Q2, the banking sector was in the red. And thus far, now we have seen the banking sector move down. So with Access Bank announcement of successfully raising the capital needed to drive them in the new era of CBN recapitalization fees, we're optimistic that the stock will see some buying interest in the remaining few trading days of the year, leading into the new year 2025.
Right, and talking about the capital raises so far by majority of the tier 1 banks and tier 2 banks, how do you see the raises so far? How they've impacted the Nigerian economy and how they will impact going forward into 2025?
Well, so let me start by saying that the banks have done well in terms of the capital raise. Based on our estimate as of Q1, when the CBN announcement was made, I think the capital shortfall for the industry was in the region of about 4.2 trillion. And they have 24 months to raise that 4.2 trillion. Just within the space of 7 or 8 months, if we sum up the amount that has been raised, even though some have not come out to declare it official, perhaps because they have not cleared with CBN and SEC, we think the players in the industry have raised close to 2 trillion naira, including the Access Bank. So that tells you that the banks have really strengthened their buffer. Now, in terms of their contribution to the economy, if you look at the trajectory of the GDP in the last 2-3 years, the banking, or let me say the finance and the financial institution sector under the GDP composition have done on average 25% growth. That is more than 7% fold of what even the broader economy is doing. So that means that the finance and insurance sector have been growing very rapidly in terms of their size. Now, in terms of contribution to society, one of the ways of assessing that is looking at what is their loan book looking like. The loan book in the banking industry have risen significantly from barely about 60 trillion about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, to about 140 trillion. So meaning that the banks are actually doing it, significantly in terms of helping to reflate the economy. Because the question you need to ask yourself is that what is the primary role of banks? The primary role of banks is to be a sort of a connector, a bridge between the have and the have-not, in that they help the surplus economic agent to they acquire, they take from the surplus economic agent with the promise of certain interest and make resources available for the deficit economic agent that want to expand productivity, expand capacity. And if you look at the fact that their loan book have grown from about 60 trillion or so at the end of 2022 to about 140 now. You want to agree that the banks are actually pulling their weight in terms of boosting the economy. And we think that as many of them get to meet the new capital requirement, they will have more ability to do this, to support the general economy. Of course, the current interest rate environment is a bit challenging in terms of cost of borrowing for businesses. But by and large, the banks have the capital to borrow. They have the capital to support sectors, the oil and gas, the manufacturing. We just need inflation to be addressed by the appropriate authority led by the Fiscal Monetary Authority. And then the bank can easily offer credit to people at affordable rates, which will have more multiplier effect on the economy. But by and large, the banks are supporting the economy, given what their loan book is showing.
Okay. Well, I guess, going forward into 2025, I hope customers are able to access as much cash, as they need, at the banks. We've seen the whole cash crunch and how the POS agents are, stepping in to give out the cash. And hopefully the ATMs come online, in 2025 and more credit to the private sector. Hopefully, if inflation stays stable. Thank you so much, Damilare Ashimiyu, macro strategist at AfroInvest. Thank you, and compliments of the season.
Thank you, Ladi. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, that's it from me on Business Morning. The markets are open tomorrow. We'll give you a summary of what's playing out tomorrow. Hope you're enjoying the holidays. I'm Ladi Williams. I hand things over now to the Sunrise Daily team.
Welcome back. Still Sunrise Daily right here on Channels Television. And we have a State of the Nation conversation coming up immediately. Joining us for that conversation is Mr. Laolu Akande, former presidential media aide. Thank you for being with us. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Kayla. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Now, I don't even know where to begin. We've had quite a year. Yeah. I mean, when you look at 2024, many people say it's a year that many people would like to forget. Because they would not want to relive, how difficult things were in 2020. But it did have its highs, and it had its lows. Are there some highs that we can pick from 2024?
Well, you have to help me.
I have to help.
I'm sure that there are, but I think for me, it's just the resilience of the Nigerian people. The never say die. The can-do spirits of the Nigerian people. The stories of people like Lukman Ademola, who even though was born in the United Kingdom and is actually, a citizen of that country, chose to wear the Nigerian flag, and say, I am a Nigerian. Stories like that, those are the things that I find very inspiring, and it encourages me that, look, this country is going to be great. Look, there's no way that it's going to be diced and Nigeria is not going to be great. And I believe it's going to be in my lifetime.
I believe so too. I mean, someone said if you take the Nigerian and you strip him or her of tribal sentiments and religious sentiments, you would not be disappointed.
Absolutely.
if you meet the absolute Nigerian. So let's talk about that Nigerian in 2024. What kind of mindset should we be ending the year with, considering the sort of year we've had? And with everything we've heard the president talk about, this media chats he had, gave us the idea that, look, he believes he's on top of the situation. He knows exactly where he's going, understands the pitfalls before we get to El Dorado. So asking Nigerians to be hopeful. Should we be going into 2025 with the mindset of hope, or should the lamentations continue?
Well, I think Nigerians should go into the new year with a new mindset, if that were possible. Namely, that we should stop expecting, quote and unquote, our salvation from the political process. Our salvation is not going to come from the political process. We will have to compel the situation that we want on the political process. I think we have, wasted enough time expecting any political messiah.
How do we
there
do that?
will be none.
How do we impose that process?
So we have to begin to talk to ourselves first and foremost about the power that belongs to the people. We need to start having conversations where we are not making requests from those who are in government, but we are asserting the fact that the existence of government is at our behest. The government exists
because we put you there.
Exactly. And that's a big part of it, because there's a lot of distortion, a lot of dysfunction. For instance, many people don't get involved in the civic process. More people have to move into that realm. Otherwise, it's just going to become, it will remain an armchair analysis situation. We keep talking about it in our little corners. We need to move the conversation to the public place. Nigeria is a big village, and the place for the village meeting is in the media, social media, traditional media, public places. We need to begin to change the conversation in those places to say that, look, this is the kind of Nigeria that we must have, and we would not accept anything less. If you look at Nigerians very well, they're not asking for too much. And that is why whenever somebody in government, maybe a governor or even a president or a senator, does something little, there is a lot of cheer. And some of the people will say, oh, but that's a normal thing. It's true, it's a normal thing. But Nigerians are so accommodating, they are so welcoming. And so time has come to say that, look, we will no longer be silent on the fate and the future of our country. And this is the kind of conversation that we need to intensify. And I tell you, having been in Nassau for 8 years, those public conversations have a lot of significance.
I mean, that line between criticism, I want to be able to use the right words.
Right.
So sometimes in our bid to express ourselves and express our frustrations and demand accountability, we find ourselves demarketing our country.
Well, so that is where we have to understand the difference. You see, I mean, wisdom, they say, is in understanding the difference. There's no use demarketing our country at all. And that's why people shouldn't, you shouldn't equate the people who are leaders today in government specifically. They are not Nigeria. They are just in charge for a limited time, maximum 8 years. They're going to leave. Some people were there before and now they have left, and you will see that everybody that is in and is out, if you are alive, you will hear what it is that you should have had when you were inside. You will hear it when you get out. And this is the kind of conversation that we need to have. It's no use, running your country down. What is the use of running your country down? It's completely useless. But you can begin to find new ways to hold leadership accountable. By starting from our narrative. The kind of narrative that are dominant out there must be the type that say that we want transparency. We want accountability. We are not satisfied if the president doesn't seem to be very keen, for instance, on fighting corruption. No, Mr. President, corruption is the major problem of Nigeria. And we are not, it is good that you are fighting it with your policies, wonderful, but we must do more than that because it is corrosive. And if it is not addressed in an all-encompassing way, you are not going to beat it.
Let's talk about the media chat.
Yeah.
So varying opinions. It's It was soup. It was soup. It had almost every element you can think of. Instead, some people got some confidence from the president's stance. You know, they said he was courageous, standing on his policies. I'm not going to do this. I made this decision. It's the right decision, and I know what I'm doing. You just have to be patient with me. You know, but then there were people who felt, oh wait, it did seem in many ways like he wasn't taking a lot of responsibility for some things, especially when he talks about the stampedes across the country, and many people felt, oh well, why is he blaming organizers? People wouldn't be out here looking for rice and oil if the economy was good, and the economy in many people's minds is bad because of you. You know, the buck stops at your table. I mean, and a plethora of other things. He talks about corruption, talked about security, and quite. What was your takeaway when you listened to that media chat?
All right. So the first thing that I'd like to say is that the president must understand that he has an obligation to be the best president Nigeria has ever had. If he does anything below that, it's a disappointment to his pedigree. He has an obligation. Look, this is the president who was governor of Lagos State. And yes, you know, they didn't do everything in Lagos State, but you cannot deny some of the things that they did in Lagos State. And so this was the president that was in opposition for how many years? 16 years, and sustained opposition. Okay? So he's the one that is very familiar with the anti-federal government narrative. As a matter of fact, he will be the number one, probably him and President Buhari, will be the number one critic of federal government before Buhari got there. And now it is his turn. So it is important for us to keep telling him that look, we know that you are competent. We know that you are a confident politician. Everybody knows that. You can be in charge of the room as he was at that press conference. You know, to many of us, that is not a surprise. The question is, what is going to happen when you are out of there? What is going to be your legacy? So you have to pay attention to that question. So I like his I like his confidence. You know, I mean, although I wish that our colleagues could have, you know, taken him to task a lot more, you know.
Just so you can, Senator Shehu Sani, speaking up about it, said it was a chat, not an interrogation. It was supposed to be a chat, not an interrogation. Well, and what many people are asking for is an interrogation. Meanwhile, what he called for was a chat.
Was a chat, yeah. You know, and we can talk about, you know, a lot of the things that couldn't make it very the kind of exchange that you expect. But you must give credit to the fact that, you know, Mr. Bayo Ononuga, you know, was able to get the president off his couch and say, you have to do an interview with the media. We have to give Mr. Ononuga a big kudos. And of course, the president for agreeing to do it. And we hope that he's going to do more of this, you know. But to my main point is that, look, Mr. President was, he was in command of the chat. No doubt about it. You know, Markwe and Babajide did quite a bit of push, you know, on one or two issues, very commendable. But at the point where Nigerians are today, I'm not sure that the president has been able to build, or I'm not sure the president has made a significant progress in building the trust with the Nigerian people with that interview. There is a start, because at least now, is making himself vulnerable. Dr. Abati said that there were they didn't tell him more questions and stuff like that. Excellent. So it's a good beginning. But I'm not sure that some of the answers, yes, these answers show that the president is confident, he knows what he's doing, but are those his responses, are they building the trust of the people? So when they asked him about corruption, his response was like a Awosika. You know, yes, your programs are doing that thing, must grant that, but the problem, the president must understand the corrosive nature of corruption. And it's not just financial. It's in our moral attitude, what we have become as a people. So it's a deep-rooted. Look, people don't want to queue at he said that. People don't want to queue at the bus stop. People don't want to, they don't want to follow the rules. Everybody wants to scale that tells you that it's a deep-rooted problem, and you need to be able to show a deterrence. And if you don't go after it deliberately, intentionally, that will not happen. So we're not going to solve the problem of corruption by providing loans to university students, which is an excellent program, by the way. But that is not how we're going to stop corruption, because we need to stop corruption urgently. We're not going to stop corruption by creating consumer credit. That is an excellent program, and I commend the president for it, but it's not going to end corruption. Corruption is so big in this country that's one of the reasons why President Buhari won the election in 2014, because Nigerians were tired, but we are still dealing with it. So president must understand that. And that's the critical takeaway that I see in the interview. But the fact that he came out, made himself vulnerable, kudos to him and kudos to Mr. Nanuga.
Let's see what Ayo has to say.
I'm wondering what you think could have been done differently in the entire process of that conversation that was had with the president. There are some who have criticized the fact that, look, there are too many people on that panel. 7 people asking questions for a media chat of just 1 hour. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, thank you, Hayo, and Merry Christmas. I also, when I saw when I got information actually that there were going to be 7 journalists in the room, I felt that was quite unwieldy, and since the president was only going to give 1 hour, honestly, 2 would have been ideal, a male and a female. Probably an Otitoju and a Mapogun would have done an excellent job. Just leave the 2 of them with the president for 1 hour. It would have done more to build some kind of confidence and trust in what the president is doing. Like I said, the president was able to demonstrate confidence, and I'm not surprised. The guy knows what he's doing, without a doubt. What he lacks and what he needs to work on is to instill trust in the people, so that the people can see that is with them. Last edition of Inside Sources on Sunday last week, the second to the last, Chief Edwin Clark did say that the president needed to talk to his people, make himself available. And then on Monday we had the media chat. Excellent. But, president needs to understand that he must speak not only as a confident politician, not only as an astute administrator, but he must speak as a Nigerian who had been out there in the trenches with the people. He must carry them along in that spirit. He hasn't been able to do that so far. Well, instructive one there. But Mr. Akande, there's something that I think the president has also said, from time to time, maybe not in public, I don't know, but the fact that, and it's a fact that you also know, the CNC or acting CNC can only do as much. It's just one individual. Government runs in a particular system with a particular orientation in its head. So it calls to the question that, okay, so while the president says he knows what he's doing, then he has an immediate staff around him, and then he has ministers. You mentioned the fact that he was at some point governor in Lagos State. That's the point when he was one of those periods when he had a media
I don't know whether to call it media chat or an interview or interrogation, at the time. I happened to have been in the studios in those days, running the console for him was a radio studio. So he came into the radio studios to have interviews and interactions with the people. Uncensored phone calls, I dare say. I was in the studio at those times. But one thing that he did then, he would have his commissioners around him. And if anyone asked any question around something that the commissioner was doing, he asked the commissioner to come and speak to it right there in the studio. And the commissioners were all there in the studio. Do you think that kind of thing would also help? That the ministers should come and answer questions, when issues are raised about whatever it is that concerns their immediate ministries?
Yeah. So I will advise, that a governor, of a state would do that. Have a few of his ministers around him. But a president of a country as big as Nigeria, and it's not the same that the box top at your table as a governor, but everybody thinks that, okay, there's a president over a governor. So I won't recommend for a president to bring his team to a press conference. He could bring his team to a town or a meeting with the people, a few of this. But in a press conference, it's a presidential system. We want to hold the president accountable directly. So I would say that, yes, as a governor, you are dealing more at the local level, but at the federal level, in national government, I would suggest that, let's just deal with the president, because there are important, I don't want to call it an interrogation, but, not interrogation in the legal sense, but when you have an interview with the president, you want to be able to get as much as you can, which is why, to your point, 7 people is just too large. It's not a lotto, it's not a lottery. We don't need too many people in the room. Although you understand why that is also so that they don't say, oh, why did you pick this and you didn't pick that? But ultimately, at the end of the day, what is most important is that for the people that are managing the media and the image of the president, they want the president to look good, but they must also think of the ultimate outlook, which is, are we getting some chemistry between the president and the people? And it starts from the vulnerability, which we are saying that thank you that you brought him out, but it has to be a little bit more intense. It has to be a little bit more intense. So at the federal level, I think it's better to just have Mr. President do his thing, especially when it's somebody that knows his onions, like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Well, good thing. You have already made another proposition to Mr. Onanuga and the president's other teams. Presidential town hall. I'm looking forward to that one. But there's something that you also that I think might also be should be considered. Question to be asked is: do you think all the salient issues were addressed? For instance, at some point, the president said, "Name the minister that is not working." In my head, immediately, I said, "Hey, power ministry. I'm not feeling it the way I should be feeling it," but no one said anything like that. So then we heard that issues around, agriculture was spaded as opposed to looking at some other, deeper issues than my thoughts. And then I think at some point I also expected that issues around collaboration between the federal and state governments would be raised, but I'm not sure I felt that. So do you think the salient, critical issues were raised at that meeting, at that parley with the president, that could, as you said, have built a little more trust?
Yes. I mean, I certainly agree with you. And when the president challenged the journalists in the room to name one minister, I think Dr. Abati, came up with the name of Wike. And he just gave the president a very easy opportunity because, look, you may not like Wike, and I have had occasions to call Wike out, but the problem with Wike is not that Wike is not, but Wike is doing stuff. I live in Abuja, so I can't, even if I don't like Wike at all, I cannot deny what Wike is doing. Yes, there is more to be done, and there are controversial issues, but Wike is not the sitting duck, really. You're right. Somebody like the Minister of Power, it should have been, and you analyze it. We've had 12, and know that the minister himself is the cause of the collapse of the grids for that 12 times. The minister is not the cause, but when you have that kind of national embarrassment, heads must roll so that people know that it's not going to be business as usual. The minister himself we've not had the minister himself firing anybody over this matter. It's all bunches of excuses. 12 times this year. That is the easy option that he didn't give the president. But hey, at least it wasn't as if nobody came up with any name, and the president was able to also explain. And also on the question of collaboration with the state, I think part of the conversation ought to be on the responsibility of the governors in this matter. The key matters that bother the people is agricultural, food security, education, and health. Those things are those responsibilities are concurrent. And so, there should have been a conversation of, Mr. President, what do you think about these things? What is the federal government doing? I agree with you entirely. Look at it, for instance, Ayo. The UN has said 30 million more Nigerians are going to be food insecure in 2025. 30 million more. That means they're not going to be able to eat. Food insecurity is going to grow in Nigeria by 30%. That is a very bleak prediction.
And listening to him, I don't remember any actual statement from the president addressing this dynamic.
Yeah, it wasn't raised. And that,
it wasn't raised at all.
It wasn't raised at the media charts. And, and that's the point. And that is one area where the federal and the state government ought to collaborate. And there is a lot that those governors can do that they have not done. So it would have been good to hear the president, on maybe his own frustrations or what he's doing about it. That's an important
Scoring
conversation.
Himself excellent.
Well, I think Mark did a good job, and I think...
Are you scoring yourself, Mr. President? Shouldn't the Nigerian people be scoring you?
Yeah, and I must say that Otitoju, in fact, Mark first and Otitoju, they came out as the real journalists in that interview. Excellent job by both of them.
He shouldn't have scored himself.
Absolutely. And you will notice that after that, he started saying that, they said that, right there in the interview. And that's the power of the spoken word. Because, look, these our leaders, they are human beings. We must understand that they are human beings. When you speak, and you speak objectively, I assure you that it gets to where it ought to. Right there in that interview, after Markwe talked about, are you scoring yourself? Some of the things he said later, he said that I'm scoring myself.
Yes. All right, well, we do have to let it go. There's never enough time to speak with you, Laolu. But thank you so much, Laolu Akande, former presidential media aide and host of Inside Sources right here on Channels Television. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Happy Boxing Day and a Merry Christmas to you and yours. All right, let's take a few messages here. Pastor Law Fasi that says the extravagant display of wealth by some ministers of the gospel is concerning and should be done away with. Jesus Christ during his earthly ministrations took care of the flock with resources from the same members who were privileged than others. And of course, Festus, we're seeing both of your messages as well. We'll try and see if we can get to them by the end of the week. I want to thank you all for being a part of the program. Have a great day ahead. Happy Boxing Day. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.
And if it is unboxing, please have a happy one as well. I'm Makinde.